today's episode, I am so excited to be talking with Linnita Hosten. Linnita is an award-winning author, national speaker, and super proud big sister. Linnita helps students identify and go after their dream career. She is a high-energy edutainer who provides content-packed and research-based programming for organizations, universities, and community groups. She also provides group coaching to students. Linnita has been honored with several awards, including Excellence in Education, Youth Speaker of the Year, 40 Under 40 in Education, Education Book of the Year, and Alumni of the Year. Linnita is a graduate of Towson University, and she is an educator trailblazer for her family. Her superpower is I coach students to dream beyond what their eyes can see. Linnita, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. I love your bio. I typically don't read bios like that, but I just loved how you captured what you do so succinctly and powerfully. So I just wanted to make sure that people knew all of your accolades. And I'm sure that's not even all of them, but those are the ones that she chose to share with us today. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so I really wanted to talk with you about your speaking journey and just how you got started and really how you came to where you are today. So how did you develop a passion for speaking specifically? And were you always confident about speaking? Did you ever have any fears? How did you get started?
Yeah, I had a lot of fears, and no, I was not always this confident. I did my very first speech freshman year in my public speaking class at Towson University, and I was nervous as heck. We were doing an instructional speech on how we could choose the topic. I decided to do how to do a pedicure because I knew how to do mine, and I got a standing ovation for that assignment, and it jogged my curiosity about being able to do public speaking. And so later that semester, I also did a beauty pageant, which required a lot of public speaking. And I won Miss Congeniality, which basically meant crowd favorite. And so from there, it had become very aware to me that I was good at this. And so my first practice in front of a real audience came in my first job out of undergraduate, in which I was traveling all across the state to do presentations on behalf of the organization I worked with. And so that is how it started. It started having to do it as part of class, saying I was good at it, and then having it be a part of my daily task in my first role out of college.
Wow. Doing a speech about a pedicure, if you could talk about that, you could talk about talk about anything. That is so creative. I don't think I've ever heard that as a speaking topic. That is awesome. So how did you develop your passion for speaking to students specifically? And I know I'm asking that because I hear a lot about other types of speakers, but speaking to students is one that I don't hear about as much. So how did you get involved with that specifically?
Sure. So in the first role that I did out of undergrad that I mentioned, I was responsible for taking statistics that the state of Maryland had developed and putting it into a package that could be presented in marketing materials. And part of that was training school teachers, staff, and students about the importance of attending college and being aware of it starting at the 6th grade. And so I was thrown into the environment like, hey, take these statistics, make a PowerPoint presentation, and we need you to go to almost every school in the state of Maryland needs to know that these are the stats and this is where we want our students to go. So I was pushed into the environment, to say the least. And I always say to people, if you can do a powerful presentation and students are listening at the middle school level, you've officially won your badge of honor, because that is the toughest crowd. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care about your jokes. How you look does not impress them. They are hard. And so that's where I got my start from. So it was a part of my 9 to 5 in which I learned or got the battle scars and the passion for students.
Wow, that's amazing. So what is one thing that you enjoy most about speaking to students specifically? What is that gives you that passion and that energy?
It's seeing their light bulb go off when you know you've gotten them in a hot zone, meaning the experience that you have with them has challenged them to think about something that needs change. And while you are sharing with them, they are thinking about how they are going to go about the change. That is what I
Right.
call the hot zone and a light bulb moment. And it's in those moments that I find the most just excitement, it's zeal, it's what fills my cup.
Yeah.
And it is confirmed when students come and tell you after the training or workshop or whatever, how it impacted them. And when they keep in touch with you via social media or
Wow.
email to keep you up to date about all the change that has taken place. And so that is what I love and I'm privileged to experience.
Wow, that's amazing. So, what topics do you specialize in? Can you just name a few of them? I know you probably do so many, but what are the most requested topics that you specialize in?
At the college level is student leadership, and that's leadership development for Greek organizations and for student campus leaders and their staff. And then on the K through 12, which I focus in on the high school experience, is really leveraging their knowledge about the college process
Mhm.
and preparing them for success in college. So those are the two areas that get most requested. My
Yeah.
hot zone that I prefer, that I think is needed in the space, is really equipping the mindset of students to be career minded. And that
Mm,
is where I spend most of my time developing content and how we are preparing our high school students to be career minded
right.
before they make a decision on trade school, military, or college.
Yes. No, that's so important. That is so, so important. So it's one thing to give a speech once or twice here and there, and giving any speech definitely requires a high skill level and a high commitment level. So how did you decide, I know now that I believe I have enough content and I have enough experience to really go and make a career out of speaking? What was that process and decision?
Yeah, I didn't know. And in fact, I don't know if you ever feel confident enough to say, hey, I'm going to make this thing. I didn't know. Part of it started with me writing my first book. I wrote the book, The College Strategy for High School Students. It really just talked about how I was able to negotiate my first salary out of undergrad based on the collegiate experience that I had. I wanted more students of color to experience that, to experience a seamless transition from college to employment or college to developing a business, seamless. And I found that most people weren't talking about that. And
Yeah.
so I started creating content for that. And that's just in the last year or so. Prior to that, honestly, when I entered into the market space, I was a generalist. I was doing everything, women's empowerment,
Yeah.
whatever you want me to say,
Right.
and showing up at the events. It was not until I niched down and developed what my superpower was that I really saw money come in. I saw the monetization of my intellectual property. And so, yeah, I start off as a super journalist, like, hey, you want me to come? Because people saw that I was naturally good at cultivating an audience. So you could
Yeah.
give me anything and I could do it. But I wasn't monetizing that. It was just
Got
me
it.
out there being visible. And so when I niched down, that's when I saw the bang for the buck.
Wow, that's awesome. So talk about that superpower and niching down. How did you even decide which areas and which specialty to focus on?
Because it was, well, I made the decision based off of my personal story. They always say, your business should have a story behind it. That's not
Mhm.
why I decided to go that route, but that my story obviously really resonated with me. And while I was traveling the country and doing student leadership, like workshops and keynotes, and it was needed, I saw another need. I was
Mm,
interacting with students and they were saying, okay, well, I'm about to graduate. So what? I don't have no plan. Like, what advice do you have for me? And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, this isn't a conversation for your senior year. Like, this should have been talked through before you made the college investment. And so the niche came from being in the marketplace and seeing other opportunities or gaps to solve a problem. And so that is when I really realized that, okay, my niche is not in the college market, although I could do it and do it well. My
yes.
niche is with the high schoolers so that when they get to the collegiate experience, I'm not getting those questions that it really tugs at my heart to answer. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so equipping them prior to getting to their college campus. So that's how being exposed to the environment and seeing a need just based off of what students were saying.
Right, right. Yeah, so I'm actually really glad that you shared that you didn't wait until you knew what your niche was before you started. And that's something that I really hope that listeners and viewers will take away from this podcast, is that, definitely having a specialty area is important, but you don't have to wait, because a lot of times you discover your specialty as you are doing the work. And so I really just want to encourage anyone who is listening, who may not know what their specialty is yet, or may be still struggling what it is. You really can't know until you're actually out in the marketplace and you're talking to clients and talking to customers, talking to your audience and getting feedback. And that is how you're building and growing at the same time. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. So obviously now we are in the pandemic still, and something that nobody ever would have guessed would have happened to our country or to our world this year or any year. So for speaking, I mean, I'm sure that has really just rocked your entire journey, because, speakers, really the biggest piece of it is speaking in front of a live audience. So can you just talk about that? How did you feel once the pandemic hit?
Terrible. I felt terrible. I was just calculating all the money, all the contracts that were basically null and void or on hold. And I was anticipating those funds to make some other business plans this summer. You know how you plan out your quarter.
Yes.
And so that totally impacted that. However, I was already in the process of working on a virtual program, like literally.
Awesome.
So I had the equipment to be virtual. I had this set up to be virtual prior to the pandemic. And so in that regard, I was a little more prepared than others, and a little more comfortable with utilizing platforms like Zoom and slides and how to make the online experience impactful, because I was already preparing for that, not knowing about a pandemic. But it was tough. And, the hardest part really is trying to price a virtual experience when you're accustomed to pricing you physically being in a place. And then we also tag on travel and all of those things to up the fee.
Right.
So really being, stripping your pride away and being, just, I would say fiscally respectful.
That's good.
And putting together something that a person would buy for a virtual experience, which is really up in the blue, is really up to you. So yeah, it's definitely been definitely an interesting experience. I will say that everyone is rushing to establish some type of virtual programming, virtual conference. And so if you are already known to be in your industry, like the go-to for something, those people will still call you for a virtual experience.
Yeah.
And just being prepared to show up like you would on stage in a virtual environment.
Right. So do you have some tips and some strategies on speaking to a virtual audience versus speaking live? I know those are probably two completely different fields. So what are some, maybe have you heard any traps or experienced any traps that, speakers run into virtually? And, can you just kind of give some tips for people that will be speaking virtually, what they can do to stay engaged?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you some of the things that I've seen that I really like, and some of the things I was like, y'all making it hard. But I was on a virtual keynote, and the presenter had music, like when you were being prompted to think or reflect, it was thinking music.
Okay.
I've never seen that virtual. And then when the person, instead of introducing themselves, they played a video introduction of like how they would if you were physically there, like how, I guess, the event coordinator would play the video and then they would come on stage. Well, they play it virtually. I really like that.
Wow.
And then I've also seen, and this is one of the things that I practice, is the intentionality of how you're going to engage them before you get on. So are you going to have a phrase like, dang, that was good? And every time you say something that resonates with your audience, they drop that in the chat. I've seen that before, which I thought was really dope. Are you going to have stimulating visuals that cause people to react, like emojis, LOL, in the comments? And then having questions in between your material that keeps them engaged, because it's really easy to just, put in your earbuds and drop the phone off. I'm guilty.
Right.
I do. But when I'm presenting, I don't want people to do that. So the way that I set it up, you actually have to be watching it to actually get the full context of what's being talked about.
Right.
And so that's a good practice for me. I use a lot of photos. I have very little text, and a lot of memes. And I'm very honest, very honest. I'll even show like right now, you kind of see me in my virtual space. When I am doing virtual programming, I show them what the rest of this room looks like.
Wow.
And that's intriguing as a listener, because you're always curious, what part of the house that person in?
Right.
You're just debunking their curiosity, which gets them even more engaged. And so those are some of the things that I've been seeing and some of the things that I've tried. But that engagement piece, keeping them in the chat, dropping emoji if you're feeling good, dropping emoji to describe how you're feeling, things like that, I think do help.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So things to, I guess, be aware of when you're speaking virtually.
Yeah, your background. Your background. So be in a place where, if grandma's cabinet is in the background because you inherited it with her china, if that doesn't go with what you're presenting, then find a new space.
Yeah.
Lighting is important. People should see the true pigment of your skin tone should be obvious. You shouldn't be hyper lighted, or you shouldn't be very dark.
Yeah.
Your camera should also be eye level. So like, you shouldn't be like looking down or looking up to talk. And then the sound matters too. Your sound, if you can plug into a headset, some headphones, or if you have a microphone, using it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I invested in was an actual webcam. I never thought I'd buy a webcam. It's 2020.
Wow.
But I have a MacBook and it's still pixelated. The camera is pixelated. And so I value how I show up. So I brought a webcam.
Wow.
Bought a webcam. I use the words wrong. And to be honest, it was way overpriced because people are price gouging on Amazon, but I'm invested in how I show up virtually, because again, this is how people are going to be experiencing me for the next, who knows? And so it's important to you to pivot, then it's important for you to have that equipment. Wow. So I would say your background, your sound, your lighting, your camera positioning, obviously what you have on, but you know that because you do that when you're in person. And being conscientious about how you're showing up. I still apply makeup for virtual experiences. I would still get dressed. Like I wouldn't wear a t-shirt. I would get dressed in my blazer. So all of that being conscientious of that. Yeah. No,
that's great. Those are some great tips. And actually, Linnita, can you share some of your the tools? Because I'll actually post those. And so after we're done, if you could just send me some links to some of the tools that you like, that would be great. So people who may be setting up their studio or at home studio or want to set one up, they'll be able to do that easily. That would be great.
We'd love to.
Yes, excellent. So when it comes to creating visibility, a big piece of public relations, as we know, is getting media attention. But in addition to the media piece, it's also learning how to take advantage of really any opportunity to be visible in front of your target audience and your ideal clients. So I believe that you're someone who's really done an amazing job with branding and taking advantage of opportunities both on and off social media. So what are some strategies that you've used to actually create opportunities for yourself in real life with the people that you desire to be in front of? How have you done that?
Well, some of the things, I'll share a few. I'm willing to go for free. And so fee is not, if it's my target market, fee is not the deciding factor. The deciding factor is my availability and the type of material I'm able to cover in the time frame that you're allotting me, and the number of people that are projected to be present. And so whenever you have an opportunity to be in front of your ideal audience, I will waive a fee because I know I have something to offer that I could monetize at a later time. So I would say, thinking about that, if you do have other products or anything that you can sell, if you can get in front of your ideal audience, that's all you need. You don't need a fee. You can make more than the fee by having those additional things. And if you don't have those things, I would suggest that you try to find some time to create them, even if it's just an ebook.
What are some of those things in some of ways, if you do a speaking engagement for free, what are some other things that you can have kind of on the back end to monetize?
Well, I'm sorry, but emails are very valuable to me. And so offering a free gift or a free giveaway in exchange for a person's email, I would tailor the gift to the event. So yeah, that all of this does take timing, by the way. I know you're probably wondering how she got all them gifts. Yeah, I have to make them. So I would ask questions about the demographic that are going to be present, and I'd prepare something custom for them that they would like, not just anything. And I brand it, obviously. And I give it to them in exchange for their email address. And I do tell them, hey, yeah, I am giving you this for your email address so that we can maintain a relationship. Right. I mean, say it how you please, but that's actually what we're doing. Right. So you can do a free giveaway. Sometimes I raffle things. So I buy tickets. And if you want to enter the raffle, you put your name and email address on the back of the raffle. This is so old school. Wow. And then I'll raffle like one of my books. Sometimes I'll buy like gift cards, socks, things that audience would want. I usually work with students. So candy, gift cards to like Starbucks, they like that. And so I'll do that. One of the things I've also done, it's not a giveaway, but I've utilized I don't use Twitter, but I realize some audiences do. So if I know it's the audience that utilizes Twitter, I will do an activity where we say, instead of you sharing aloud what your takeaway was, the first 50 people who tweet, you can come and take a gift out of the gift bag, which is candy, gift cards. And in doing so, you capture more followers, more content on your feed, and people are happy. Because they got new stuff. So obviously, yeah, giveaways. If you have books, you can do t-shirts. You could do free, like if you have some type of like a complimentary coaching session, or if you do like resume critiquing, any kind of skill that you can offer them that they would love to not pay for. You can say, hey, I do complimentary sessions. The first few people to sign up, that sort of thing. You can do that. I think that's a good list.
Yeah. No, that's a lot. That's really good. So those are ways to really build an audience. I would say those are really audience builders. So things that are free to the audience, but they're things that you're offering so that you can build a relationship with them. Yeah. Now, how about in the case where you agree to actually speak somewhere, or speak, well, I guess now it would be virtually, and you decide to waive your fee for that? What is a way that you can receive money kind of on the back end?
Yeah, I would segment my content. So I would basically give them enough where they would be satisfied and hungry for more. So I wouldn't give them all. I would give them some and say, hey, I'd love to continue. You can bring me back. Because once a person likes you, they want to buy from you. If they like you and you're valuable and your information is valuable, they want to continue that relationship. So I found that has worked too, segmenting the information and then following up, hey, these are some other things that we can definitely discuss. One of the things I did with one of my clients, they were not a client yet, and I met them on a webinar that was free. And he was interested in some of the books that I sold, but he said, before I buy them in bulk, I would kind of like to test them out. I said, no problem. I will send you free copies of 2 of them. And I sent a thank you letter, and I packaged it well. And then I follow up with a text message. I say, hey, just checking in to make sure you received the package. And he said, yes, he was going to read the books and let me know. I said, no, this is not a pressure to buy. I just wanted to make sure you got your gift that I dropped in the mail for you. So those things are building relationships along the way. Now, sometimes they don't always convert, but my love language is gifting. So it feels good to me to give anyway.
Yeah.
But, that's not the case for everybody. So I do things like that. I've also done that with another client where I sent her a care package as we were transitioning into COVID. It had like a coffee, a tea bag, my book. I said, hey, just so that you're in your good mental space, I'm thinking of you. Now, we had never done business before, but I know she was considering me. And do you think she called me? Absolutely.
Yes.
We've done 4 contracts in the middle of COVID. And she called me yesterday and said, hey, be on standby. I have some dates coming, because people like good people.
That's awesome.
Again, if it's not in your nature to naturally be that way, then that would be a little deceiving. But I naturally like to give. I love to shop. So, it doesn't cost me anything. I feel good about it. So those are the ways that I've been nurturing visibility on the back end.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Those are some great tips, some great tips. So I hope that everyone listening and watching is taking notes, because these are definitely some great gems. So, Linnita, now that you have pivoted and you've kind of um, are now working in this virtual space, what are some priorities and some goals just for you, for the rest of the year? What would you like to see? Where would you like to see your business going at this point?
So my goal for 2020 was to hit $200,000. Now,
Wow.
I've never done that before. I've never hit 100. I've never hit $50,000 in my
Wow.
business, period. And so it was a very aggressive goal. And so some of the ways that I've been working towards that is I am releasing my new student coaching program, the Dream Career Academy. And I have repackaged that to work with community groups like our local parks and recreation. Then I also have a private nonprofit group that's nationwide, also repurposing a 10-week, what would be a group coaching program to fit an existing organization structure over the long haul.
Nice.
And also contracted out to do some curriculum development for a youth program. So I guess diversifying and meeting the needs of my clients in other ways. Because again, they don't want to have to think about another way to make a program. If you can bring that to them, conceptualized, packaged in a box, they love that. And so that's what I've been doing. And that's what I've been spending my time doing in COVID. And so that's my goal. Will it get me to 200,000? To God be the glory. If he does, come on down. I would love that.
Wow.
But they always say, aim big, aim high.
Yes. Yeah. Now that's an awesome goal. It's an awesome goal. I believe you will get there. So we'll have to check back in with you and see how you are. But I definitely think you can do it. That's amazing. So any advice right now for anyone who might be, missing their live audience, not really sure, how to pivot if they hadn't, had that digital, those digital pieces in place yet, and they're kind of, still trying to figure it out. What advice do you have?
So I really miss the interactions with students. I do, because that is where my heart beat. And I don't have children, so it's not like I have, I can go and get that interaction from others, other like students like. But what I find is that in doing some of my virtual programming, when I allocate less time of me speaking and more time of me connecting with them, although it's virtual, but it's through the chat function, and sometimes offering to take those conversations offline, that has filled that whole, I guess the hole or what I'm missing.
Yeah.
So being intentional about how you're allocating your time when you do make a connection with your virtual audience. I've also seen I've seen more people obviously going live on Instagram just to say hey and connect with their followers as well, if that works for you. I've never done that. I don't think that I will, but I think that that's an option. You can also invite them to be a part of the live. I think that also would help replace you being live as well.
Yeah.
But if you're an introvert and having to figure out and do all these things and to show up powerfully, it's a lot of pressure. I don't know if there's a way to recreate that. We're just praying that we can get back to normality, which will never be the same.
Right.
But yeah, that's a tough question.
Yeah. But I mean, you are definitely doing an amazing job, just with continuing to be able to have business and build business during this time. And I definitely think that you've given so many steps for people who are just getting started to be able to convert and pivot into that digital space. So yeah, I think, I guess one thing that I would say that has been helpful for me, because I am really not a social media lover. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. So I really, have just been finding that, go get on and, post as consistently as you can, but, really just find a rhythm that works for you, because, everyone doesn't have to be on the same platform. Some platforms, you might like better than others. So, but, right now, digital is kind of the streets, you know what I mean? Like, we can't get out and connect with people in person right now. So social media is really the way to do that. Unless you're gonna call people, you can definitely get on the phone too, because people, that still is another way to virtually communicate with people. So that is another option. But yes, people, and I think that really is a great way to just showcase your credibility, showcase your brand if you are first getting started and looking to attract an audience and build an audience. A lot of times they will check and see, what kind of expertise and what type of authority that you're showing online. And that will also help to know what types of topics resonate most with your audience. Well, thank you so much, Linnita, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And where can people find you and follow you?
I am online, everything Linnita Hosten. My most active platforms are Facebook and Instagram, but I'm on everything else. Awesome. And I'm also online at linnitahosten.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Linnita. We look forward to seeing where your business will go.
And good luck to you as well, too.
Yes.
It's going to be a good year.
Thank you. It will. Yes, it definitely will.